So, what I'm being shown this morning in our field is that there are no shortcuts to God. There are no shortcuts to freedom. The only way to come to God and glory, to wholeness, to freedom is by God's will alone, right? We can't push the river. We can't pull up the flowers. We can't make anything happen. And we can't use things of the world as a method of transportation. Even though everything is God in appearance, if we're using that conceptually, then of course the graces we will be tripped. we will be we will be shown the illusion, the delusion in the idea that it's possible to kind of take a great glass elevator of some description to the top of the mountain. Because in a way, what is being humbled is that there is no top of the mountain, right? As long as we think there's somewhere to get to, we might imagine that there are shortcuts, there are techniques, there are ways, there are things that will carry us there quicker. But the truth is, there's nowhere to get to. The truth is, you already are. And in a way, the great mystery and puzzle of the life is the discovery that you already are, so that there's a stopping journeying to get somewhere and using any means to carry you somewhere that you already are, right? So there's nowhere to get to. So any idea that you need a means to get you somewhere itself has to be dissolved into the unified field of revelation. Because the only way to get to where you already are is through the revelation of our own consciousness, right? The revelation of our own entirety, where everything, yes, everything is included, everything is God and glory, everything is love. But we can't imagine that knowing that conceptually will bring us freedom. And in a way, we can be in this dance where there is revelation, there is knowing, and yet there's a continuing rebalancing happening. But the parts that are holding concept will constantly be humbled, will constantly be revealed. Because the grace and glory of love is that love will come back for every single fiber and thread of its own being in order for freedom to be absolute, right? And the curious thing is that the mind's understanding, the mind itself might mistake that for realization. But the frequency of realization is never fooled by the mind, right? So whatever the mind conceptually thinks, and even if there's any sense of the mind or the me taking hold of this adventure, the smiling is coming through my own humbling, right? Any sense that we have of in the unconscious of feeling like we've arrived somewhere or we've got somewhere or that there's somewhere to land or any of this is it's all ideas of the mind, right? Because revelation is quiet, true worthiness is quiet, right? And you can't then even take that and be like, oh, okay, then I need to be quiet, right? Because it will just pop out. It will leak. It will leak out of those, it will leak out of the edges that are as yet uncharted territory of your own consciousness, right? So this is the miracle of revelation, is that we can't fool ourselves. Like, what would be the point? Because fooling ourselves and even telling ourselves, well, I'm not fooling myself, is fooling ourselves, right? it's like there's nowhere to hide. There's no shortcuts. There's nowhere to hide, right? God and glory sees you. God and glory knows you because God and glory is the one that already knows its oneness. God and glory is the one that already is perfect, spotless, and entire. And we belong to that. We are one with that. And the revelation of this life is to recognize that in the silence, right? The revelation is in the silence. And that's why we would say that true worthiness is quiet. There's no one to take ownership. There's no one to claim this. Of course there can't be, right? In a way, the quietening comes in the recognition that there's no one else to speak to. But that doesn't actually even mean that expression doesn't happen, because the glory actually loves to express itself. It is like a self-expressing. It's part of its mechanism is to announce itself, but it's like an announcing of itself as a frequency, right? So this again, we could say that your essence, your true nature is everything. Nothing that you do or say or any attempts to try to prove has any kind of value. The frequency that we live at is the grace of the offering of the life. So in that we realize too, wow, it's actually really simple, because life is living itself. Life is living itself, and life knows how. Life is eternal and full and whole, the life divine, right? And really our living adventure is to come into alignment in such a joyful, wild, adventurous way, where we're not striving or trying or even looking for shortcuts, because we don't need shortcuts, because life is the way, right? There are no deals, there are no bargains. Life in its entirety is completely balanced and harmonious, and is constantly balancing and harmonizing. It's all a mental trick that we believe, oh, I got a deal on that. You'll be robbed somewhere else, right? It's like it's always balancing itself. Anywhere we think that we've got some kind of boon, a little feather in my cap, right? It will be taken. It's like there's nothing to hold on to, right? So there's no shortcuts. There's no deals. There's no bargains. There's no quick fixes. And that's part of the grace, that you cannot buy this freedom. You cannot get yourself wherever the mind thinks it wants to get itself by any other means than God's will, right? Because it's the ultimate fairness, right? And it balances out all ideas of it's unfair. It's unfair. Or that one's lucky, right? All ideas of unfairness, luckiness, dissolve into grace. And again, it's like this unfolding is the discovery of what grace really is. No one has more or less grace. It's about entering the current of grace, entering the flow. And that's available to us all equally. And the grace of it is that equality, is that balancing and harmonizing. And that every life is a dance, an adventure of balancing and harmonizing through the play of life. So the actual play of life itself is the means. We could include in that, well, if I think I'm taking a shortcut. That too is the means. But in a way, it's that it won't lead us where we think it's going to lead us. It will lead us into exactly what is needed to discover that this living reality is alive in our own hearts right now. Our belonging to God and glory is here right now. And of course, the mind can never, ever comprehend or believe that, because the mind as a mechanism of consciousness is just a part of the entire mechanism. So the mind will always feel limited. The mind will always feel limitation. And the mind will always be like a posture. The mind itself is a posture of protection. So in a way, as well, we speak of that we can't get to this revelation through ideas or concepts or beliefs. We can only come to revelation kind of on our knees, head to the ground. And that's like metaphor. It's not an actual posture that you have to take, but within your heart, that surrender, that devotion that is the mechanism, the pure mechanism of the flow of grace, is that it's constantly in surrender to itself. Life is constantly in surrender to itself, in constant pure devotion to itself, a devotion which is loving love for the sake of love alone. It takes all me and sense of achievement and ambition out of the equation. It really takes the journey out of spiritual, right? It takes out the idea of a path or a quest or something that I'm going to gain in the future. And yet, of course, the whole adventure, we could use these kind of words, and it's not wrong to use these kinds of words, but it's the recognition that we come to at an essence level that we're going nowhere. There's nowhere to get to. And that's the conundrum in a way. That's the koan that we are solving in the adventure of life. What does it mean to be going nowhere? Like there's nothing to gain, nothing to get, because we already are. And in a way, if we sit with that, we drop into the silence and the stillness where the revelation actually is. And we open to realize that we are a living, fully equipped toolkit. We have everything that we need is already on board. There's nothing external that we need, like an addition or let's call it a superficial upgrade. The upgrades only come from the divine. The upgrades only are happening in the field of consciousness, right? So then as these words are coming, just notice what is alive in your field. What are you noticing? What is this touching into? Where do you recognize a truth? Where do you smile in humility at how you've learnt this the hard way? Right? how you found yourself on your knees because you tripped. And then you felt, oh, okay, thank you, great glory. I'll stay right here on my knees and I'll join you here and put my head to the floor. And I'll realize that thy will be done, not my will be done. That to come to you, great glory, can only happen by your grace, by your will alone. And so what else could there be but to align with your will? What else could there be if I want to know God and glory, freedom, grace, love, but to be with that in the stillness, in the silence? Or perhaps we would sometimes say, be, if you want to know yourself, then be with yourself. We can be so adept at getting away from ourself. Whereas in a way, life is actually constantly inviting us to come into a deeper intimacy, a greater intimacy with our very own self, so that we can actually realize if there's any kind of discordance in the field, any stress, anything arising, fear, doubt, confusion, sense of needing to make a decision, that actually the will to try to work it out is the distraction. And the true invitation is, oh, I don't actually need to do anything here. What is being invited is that I actually just be here. Receive myself in this moment. Receive the discordance. Receive the buzz, the hum, the energy, the aliveness, the charge, the trigger in the nervous system, that I just be here. And the mind says, what? That's all? It can't be. It can't be. Like, that's not going to get me anywhere. That's not going to get the decision made. That's not going to have things happening. And we might then say, well, how do you know? How do you know what would happen if you were so fully with yourself that God could carry you? If you put your suitcases down and you let yourself be carried, how do you know what that would be like if you've never really tried it? Oh, I have tried it. I have. I've surrendered. I know all about that. Oh, great. How's that working for you then? Yeah. Yeah. Right. And all we have to do is just invite, yeah, so how free are you feeling? How joyous, how happy? So that's working for you then, is it? And at some point the mind will go quiet. And the humbling of like, okay, I've had a lot of experiences, but perhaps I haven't actually fully rested even deeper, even deeper, even finer, where I can be with the subtlety and actually accept all that life is offering right now is to be here and to make no move until life offers you either something to respond to, a powerful impulse to initiate, or an obvious invitation. And in a way, we could say they're all the same, really, in a way, that life itself is the initiator, love itself, the glory itself is the initiator of all of life's flow. And so when we just be here, we align with the flow of life, and we can recognize that somehow there's an invitation, or there's something to respond to, or there's just this wildly powerful natural pull to initiate. And that initiation doesn't come from the mind. Initiation is the divine's initiation itself, right? That it's all a divine setup. And it's just about resting and allowing the naturalness to be the impetus for movement and action and flow. And it's not that we don't move into action, and it's not that doing doesn't happen, but it happens without a doer. It happens without someone believing that they are controlling. Because the mechanism of where we believe that we're controlling, it can feel like we're doing something good, but actually it's a protection that's keeping us away from what we're truly longing for. And so what if the magic is in letting go and letting God, and actually opening to the possibility deep enough to find out what is possible in the infinite field beyond what we're trying to create or make happen, where we're only being resourced from our mind's idea of what is possible. When we truly let go and let the flow of life happen, it is honestly astonishing what can happen. Honestly astonishing. There are no limitations. Life is benevolent. And everything that seems to be limiting in life is an invitation to discover that, right? It's the ultimate humbling to discover that everything that we think and believe to be true is not the actual reality. That the actual reality is the peace, the happiness, the joy, the wonder, the awe, which is untouched by whatever is happening in the play of experience. And the rebalancing that's happening in our field and in our consciousness is shifting from that which we already are, let's say, to that which we think we are. Rebalancing, coming to unify. We use the ability, the natural ability we have to come into the stillness and silence to support that natural rebalancing. All of the protections and these ideas of control, as we come to the stillness and the silence and we truly rest, we start to open to a field of intelligence that's carrying everything and starts to open possibilities beyond what we are imagining and trying to control and bring into being, or change, or use the shortcuts, or whatever it is. And we start again rebalancing out of the intellect and the acquired knowledge to the pure knowledge and the flow of pure intelligence. So there's a naturalizing that's happening. We're coming to a naturalness where we go through layers of revelation about how there's no doer. Like that relaxation of the doer is like a multi-dimensional, ongoing relaxation. And it's happening in consciousness, so it's shifting the consciousness, and it's seemingly like we're opening in expansion. That feeling of expansion is the sense of the boundaries and limitations falling away, because the expanded field is already expanded. So it's this balancing, right? The one that feels tight has the experience of expansion. The expanded field just celebrates, right? The one that feels to be divided and separate starts to open to more of a sense of unity. The unified field celebrates, right? The intellect and the ambition and the knowledge, the control, the protection, the ideas, the concepts relax and relax. And this one starts to feel more free and more, wow, more inspiration. The infinite field of transmission of light, of intelligence celebrates, right? That which already is, already is. It's not changing. And yet it celebrates through surrendering into itself, through a pure devotion to itself, which is what keeps the integrity of wholeness whole as a self-sustaining mechanism. And that which we already are, that celebrates as this rebalancing is happening, the celebration is like a nectarine flow of bliss that like oils our way. It lights the fire under our evolution, right? So this is not outside of you. This is God and glory. This is the divine. But this is not outside of you. This is the part of you that it already knows, that already belongs. And this is the part of you that believes in division and separation and lack and limitation. But same, already in place. Just a taking of a shape. Just a patterning in consciousness. And a patterning in consciousness that is in essence the same, has the absolute pure potential in that essence to repattern itself and reorganize and recalibrate itself through its own intelligence back to the divine setting, right? And here there's nothing to believe. It's to receive that transmission in your own intelligence, that recognition. And here's the other piece about there being no shortcuts. We don't need them, right? We don't need them because revelation is immediate. There's nothing quicker. There's nothing quicker than here now, immediacy. There's nothing closer than intimacy, right? So we don't need anything to try to make it a quicker journey, a more wild journey. We don't need anything because it's already here. We're already fully equipped. And God and glory, the ultimate guidance and support, is already lined up, right? Your chariot awaits. And guess what? You're already sitting in it. And guess what? It's already running full pelt, right? And what is that? That's your life, right? Your chariot into the glory of the one radiant heart is your life. You're right there. You're sitting. You're sitting in your chariot. And it's just to let yourself be carried. Let yourself be carried. Your burdens, your baggage, it's all on board. But you don't have to do anything with it. Just enjoy the ride, right? Wow. Could it be so? We can't look to the mind to get an affirmation. We can't look to the mind to say, yeah, it can be so, it's okay. Because the mind's always going to be skeptical. The mind's always going to say, ooh. So what do we follow as a certainty? Yes, we're speaking about being in the unknown, in the total openness, the wildness. And yet that we are equipped with a knowing. We are equipped with an absolute guarantee. Because we already are, when we access where that knowing is already present, or when we access the longing, when we access the field of presence through our own presence, we access where that opening, that aperture, that sense of knowing is already present. And we fly on the coattails of where the heart is already awake to itself, where the consciousness is already awake and in the pure knowing of itself. And so we come to the sense of presence here now, and we just rest, rest. We rest here. Oh. And we let the relaxation happen. We let there be a relaxation of all of the ideas, all of the consciousness that's like this surface noise and activity. And we just drop into, in the rest, we drop into the field of transmission, the field of grace, the field of intelligence, the field of pure consciousness that is wise and bright, brilliant and alive. And we recognize, oh, I am being carried. This is all happening. Okay. And we come to realize that whatever we get up to in the life, there's no mistakes. It's like this rebalancing brings us to a deeper and deeper certainty of trust that everything that is happening is the only way that it could be. An ability to receive and accept, we could say allow, include, because not because we're doing that, but because it's the natural way. It's the technology of love to just include everything because there's only one. So inclusivity is natural. The natural technology of light is to shine, be radiant, brilliant, to illuminate, to glow, right? To drop into that radiance, to drop in and embody that radiance, where we open through that sense of expansion and we bring that knowing into every area of the lived experience. We witness as every cell in our physicality, every cell, fiber, and atom of our being is multidimensionally carried through like a transfiguration, a cellular, biospiritual transfiguration, where the intelligence, the consciousness of every cell is being recalibrated and upgraded as we come to a deeper revelation in the field. And it all happens while we are resting. It all happens while we are resting. It's like we're carried into adventure and then we rest. We're carried into adventure and then we rest. Right? We're carried into interaction and play and the happenings, and then we rest and we allow that deep integration to happen, right? So just to notice what is happening in your field as we are connecting in here this morning. Just to be in this moment awake and aware of your own direct experience and allow the transmission of the light through the flow of the words to just be enlivening what you already know, to be illuminating what there is to be seen, to be stirring what is ready to surface, right? And to bring forward the wisdom light that is already shining in your heart as the one heart.